Welcome to Grand Tap Media, Breathing the Grand show, produced by Keim Concept. My name is Pamela Keim, your host, and I have a very special guest with us today. I will have to be honest, I'm a little nervous. I've known her for some time, and she has watched me develop. So her being here in her trained field, I know that maybe she won't, but she may be critiquing me a little bit. But I want to introduce you to maybe your neighbor, maybe someone that you see at the store or whatever, and you're wondering what she does. Well, today we're going to be introducing you to Debra Anderson, and she is a vocal coach, vocal confidence coach. Right. And I can't wait till we tap into what she does. But I feel now that I'm out here in the public and I see communications changing and how we present ourselves. I think years ago the written word was very important, and it's not that that's not important. I'm looking at her. But I think that you're able to become very successful if you can get your presentation, your voice, and share what you do and how we can help you and what your services can do to help us thrive. So I want to bring it right over to her. Her name is Debra Anderson, and she is the vocal confidence coach. Welcome.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you for having me. Don't be nervous.
I know. I am so glad, because I really do think everything is changing, and you know that with social media. You even said you're not that, even though you're in the public and you do public speaking. You're on Radio for Divas. You have your own show, but you see that this how we present ourselves. 2-minute presentation can kind of make or break you in front of an audience. And you're able to make a presentation on social media and reach a lot more people today.
Yes, and that's so true. That is so true.
Now I want to tap in real quickly. A lot of people look at a vocal coach as somebody that, that just coaching actors and musicians and people in music. So I want you to share with us what a vocal coach does.
Okay. That's a great question, because just today I was in a networking group this morning, and one of the gals said when she had first heard about a vocal coach, she thought it was way beyond anything that she would be using. She thought I would only work with, actors and people that are professionals. But the truth is that we all are out there trying to represent our best selves. And in this day and age, we have tons of entrepreneurs that are out there wanting to get their message across as to what their business is about. And I work with all kinds of people. I work with HR people, because they have to present constantly to their new recruits in their company. And I help them with the speech that goes on all the time, but how can they change it up to make them be outstanding in what they do, and to make people listen better? Because the better you're able to present, the more people are going to be captivated by your message. So I help develop the confidence that you need, and I work with people that want to network. I work with people that are in companies. I work with the entrepreneur. I work with actors. I work with singers. I am a voice actor myself, so I work with all kinds of people. It doesn't matter what your profession is. What matters is how well are you representing yourself.
Well, what are you seeing out there today? I mean, I know that people can use social media just to have fun, and
Sure.
you see that. But when I was a director and I had to hire people, when I called people and did their answer machine or their voice message, I knew sometimes I didn't go any further than that.
Exactly. That is such a great point, because I have done message machines for people. I've done the recording.
Yes.
So, and you are correct. If you don't represent yourself well, even over the phone, so the person who is the admin, the person who's that first face of the company or first voice of the company, if they are not well trained, if they don't represent well, you are correct. They will hang up and they will never come back. So it's so important for everybody to understand all the tools that it requires, and there's so much to it. It's not just a matter of, Well, I hate the sound of my voice, and I don't, what can you do to make me sound better? It's better.
Do most people hate the sound of their voice?
Many people do. Many people
Why
hate
do you
the
think
sound
that
of their
is?
voice. Well, for one thing, I think that we're all a little critical sometimes, I think, of ourselves. Okay, so I don't know too many people that are out there going, I am amazing. You know what I'm saying?
They wouldn't say it out loud.
So I think that everybody, and we're hearing the sound of our voice from inside our body, so to speak. But what I want to encourage people is to realize that this is the voice that you have. It is the only voice that you'll have. And how important it is for you to develop that voice, to own it, and to learn the tools that can help you improve the tone, improve your articulation skills, improve the communication that you want to get out to everyone. What is your message? And I work with you on all kinds of presentations. I work with you on the sound of your voice. I work with you on slowing down. I know you and I have talked about that a lot. It's a very common thing that we speak so fast that we tend to be lazy in the type of speech that we have. And let me tell you, if you want to be impressed by someone, when you hear a good speaker, they are not speaking too fast and they are articulate. You understand every word. And if you think about that as, why am I up here? If you are not going to communicate effectively, then you've wasted your time and everybody else's.
Well, I would agree with you on that one. And you know, we've talked because we've been in network events. I've heard you public speak at events, and I do that also. But sometimes feedback, when you're getting it from so many, it can really, you can go home and you can put your hand. And
Yeah, sure.
I do Toastmasters as you know, and part of the club, and sometimes I'll get 10 or 15 feedback on my speech. And I'll just take it, honestly, I'll just take it to my home to my husband. I go, besides speaking too fast, dear, what else can I improve on, right? And the biggest thing that I struggle with, and maybe some other people, is the transition. When you're transitioning information and getting that, almost like I am not very, you might would probably understand this, I'm not very good at telling a joke. Because I'll tell a joke and I'll get right to the punchline too fast.
Well, your
building
brain is
suspense.
Your brain is really going faster than your mouth can articulate it. So, and but that, Pam, is not uncommon either. Some of us we're thinking ahead. But what allows a person to be articulate and meticulous in their speech is to be so prepared ahead of time that you will know what it is you want to say, and you will use the tools that I am able to teach you as far as interpretation, pausing for that effectiveness.
Breathing, right?
Absolutely. Breathing is the basis for all of it.
I understand that. Now, I know, I'm just going to bring you up. I just watched the King's speech, and I know I talked to you on the phone about that, but just that whole movie was, well, of course it was an inspiration.
It was.
And there was an emotional reason, and there's an emotional reason probably why I speak fast. I will honestly tell you, I grew up in a big family, and I had, all of us, there were 6 siblings, and we're all fighting for attention.
Absolutely.
So then you're speaking to make sure, I shared with David, to make sure my mother's eyes were always looking at me, and so if I talked faster, I figured it would, you know what I mean? I could get that in.
I've heard this from other people that they're vying for that spot so that somebody will pay attention to them. You don't want to get lost in the crowd.
Right.
And I totally get that. In the King's speech, that poor gentleman had to overcome an obstacle. He was a stutterer. And there's a perfect example of someone who had to be out in front of his kingdom and give speeches when he was totally paralyzed by the thought of having to do that.
Right.
So his vocal coach teaches him breathing techniques. She teaches him how to articulate and makes him do these, what we perceive as silly exercises, to help us know how to move our mouth and how to actually create the type of sound that we want. And all of those things actually help slow your brain down, Because if you're forced to go through these exercises physically, the brain has to slow itself down in order to make them understood. So that is, it all works together.
Right. That scene where he puts the headphones on and
Yes.
he reads that.
Yes.
That was an incredible. So it's, what did that do? Just not your thoughts, or you were trying to focus on what you were? I wasn't really.
Well, it's a little bit of both. Remember that he has to listen first, so the brain can understand what it is that the physical body has to execute. Okay? So again, if we're running ahead with our thoughts, we're not allowing the physical body, and especially if you have some kind of a impediment that's going to prevent you from doing that, it'll make it worse instead of better if you don't slow yourself down. And that's the case with almost anything, Pam. Anything that we do too fast, we make errors. We make errors in judgment. If we rush to a decision, we make errors in writing. If we're hurrying and we don't check and we make errors in speeches and in representing ourselves. If we go too fast and we haven't effectively communicated the message about who we are, what we represent, what our company does, if we don't do any of those things, again, we went too fast. And we've cheated everybody out of the benefit of knowing what we have to offer.
I know, when you say it like that, I'm thinking, you're right. I need to slow down. I need to, you know, take a deep breath in between pauses. It's going to be okay. I'm not going to, you know, not going to lose anybody.
We're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Exactly. So what do you, I know you do events and you are in a lot of organizations and you're out there speaking. What are people asking you afterwards? Like, you know, Dad, you know, I know a lot of people, you know, and I know a lot of people that could use your services too.
Sure.
And I don't want to say it to offend them, but saying you could say it so much, especially they may have their, like you hearing when you go to these events, because I see you. And what are people going? What are they mostly asking?
Most people are saying, "I need you," but they don't really understand why they need me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I try to help them understand. I always have a meeting with everyone before they start lessons with me.
Okay.
And the reason I do that is I want to get to know them a little bit, to figure out what their goals are. Why do they think they need me? And most of the time it will be because I don't like the sound of my voice. I think I sound too little girlish, will be a very common one.
Oh, okay.
I have recently coached a gentleman from, he's an HR director in his company, and he's from Ghana, and so he has a slight accent. But the accent is actually lovely. I love to listen to him speak. But there will be colloquialisms that he will use, and he will say words a certain way because that's how it's translated from his language. So I simply help them learn how to say something a little bit more, if you will, in our English translation, and I will slow them down because it's invariable that they will speak too fast. And even though they're speaking a different language than what they've grown up with, they're still speaking too fast. Here's the thing, Pam, most of us are very lazy. We say gonna, I'm gonna, I'll see ya. We all do it. We all do it. But if you want to be a standout professional, you will not do that anymore. And
I try not to. Since I've known you, I've tried. When I'm with you, I'm trying to speak very, you know, especially when I did that presentation in front of Women's Life and you were sitting in the front row, I'm like, oh boy, you know what I mean?
Well, I hope, I really try not to intimidate everybody, and I've gotten, it's actually gotten me business to have people get up there and then say, uh-oh, my vocal coach said don't do that, and I just did it, or whatever, so.
Well, I like how you know, I said, just go like this, Deb, so I slow me down, or just, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
A coach, if they're an effective coach, we are there to remind you. I will tell you, even the most famous opera singers and the most accomplished singers have vocal coaches. They have them because we forget the basics. We get so busy. We're so caught up in so many things that we have to always bring you back to the basics and remind you of the things that create the best tone. And we get into bad habits. Lazy speech is one of them. Or we just plain, my job is to make sure that you understand how important it is so that you're stellar. I don't want average students. I want stellar students. And those students will work. They know they have to work. I always say practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. If you're practicing incorrectly, then what's the point? So you need to practice the things that you are taught and practice them correctly. And we use tools.
Do you practice those in front of, okay, let's just say, you know, because I really want to do a good job on the show, to be present and to do a great job interviewing people such as yourselves so everybody can see the great services that you provide in the community. But so what I would need is, and I think that many people could, you could do like a 2-minute presentation on video about what I do and what the show's all about. And I'm getting people like, you know, make it under 2 minutes. But you know what's me? It's hard to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I've done it so many times here for Alan. Alan's like, you're at 4 or 5 minutes, but you're trying, but that's some of the problem though, is that people want this information, and they want it quickly.
They do.
So people are trying to get the most information in 2 minutes. Isn't that hard to do that?
It is hard. It is
Yeah.
hard. But what one of the things that I help with in terms of, I help with speech editing.
Okay.
I help with speech presentation. And it's something that because of all my years of experience, it's not too difficult for me to help you pare things down. And if you have a prepared 2-minute introduction, you can cater that to your audience depending on who you're speaking to. But that prepared 2-minute introduction will always be pretty much the same, and you'll get that information out in the amount of time that you need to.
Okay. Well, that's exactly it. And you could probably you get a good presentation about your program, your service, your mission,
Yes.
nonprofit, or even just about, you know, what you're doing a fundraiser
Sure.
for, like Women's Life.
Yes.
And you can do that. I just did one I'll have to have you look at it though. We're doing a breast cancer walk.
Yes.
And you heard that. It's Care for Cara, and that's going on October. So I'm trying to get this little intro done, and I'm looking at the time trying to get it under 2 minutes, and it's past stuff. But you know, I mean, you're having to talk, and so I could send that to sponsors and donors.
Yes.
Just that alone, and say, hey, you know, this is what we're doing. I mean, do you feel that people, you know, come to you and say, look, I want this to really sell what we're doing?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
Absolutely. That's why I've divided my coaching sessions not only for continuing lessons, but for speech presentation in particular, because I've worked with quite a few people that are getting ready for a particular speech. It might be a big speech, it might be a small speech, but the key is knowing what you're going to say, and then the interpretive value comes in, and this takes time, but knowing how to say it to deliver the most impact. And that's what I help with.
that's what I probably need the most. See, people hold that, just hold that suspense, build up, you know, you want to do that, right? And there's some people, you can't take their eyes off people when they do that. It's like, okay, and then you're waiting for the punchline, and
You don't want to give away the farm, not too soon.
that's exactly it. Now you have to. Now let's talk exercises, because you've given me some breathing exercises to do in the past when I'm trying to get
Yep.
my voice up to that. I mean, what can you share with us? I mean, how many minutes it would take to do that a day, or is it 3 times a week? Is it like physical exercise where you have to do 20 minutes?
Well, let's start with physical exercise. Anything that you can do to strengthen your core
Okay.
is always good. So I'm not a fitness guru, but if you can strengthen your core, then what that does is it strengthens the diaphragmatic muscles. And the diaphragm is where you breathe from. So without doing too much, a normal person will breathe in, and you inhale and bring your tummy in, and you exhale and let that air out. But that is the incorrect way to breathe, especially for voice. Okay, so I'm not going to say it's incorrect for different things because runners breathe a little differently. I know in stress management they breathe through their nose a little bit more. So this is for vocal execution now, okay? But what you do is it's the opposite. So when I breathe in, I fill my tummy up like a balloon, and it's all down here, and that leaves me completely free and unrestricted in my upper body, so that my voice then is not strained, and I'm still on one breath here, and I can control then how fast I let that breath out, you see. And that is the key to helping you know how to phrase, helping you have better tone, helping you not be as tight and stressed when you're speaking. All of these things play a part. And then ultimately, you have the best, most beautiful sound that comes out of you because you've controlled it in the area that requires it. Remember, this is our lungs. This is a filter. This is our foundation.
They say that. That's hard. Do you have videos or anything how to do that? Because I know I'm trying to do it that way. I think I always go back. It's so much back to the way you normally breathe, but which is not the right way.
You asked me how long it takes.
Yeah.
Everybody's a little bit different. Some people catch on to this right away. Some people it takes a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. And the key is you must practice it over and over and over. So what I'll do, an initial thing I'll do to teach people is have you lay down with a book on your belly. And that way, when you breathe laying down and you fill up that belly, the book comes up. And then as you exhale, then the book comes back down. So it's something you can physically see and you can feel it. But laying down makes it a little bit easier. And the way to help justify this, think of a little baby. When a baby breathes, you don't see a baby going, they don't take a big deep breath in their lungs and have their shoulders come up. They don't do that. They breathe from their bellies.
Okay.
Because that's how we're meant to breathe.
Why aren't we still doing that? We just get too busy.
Because when we're kids, we all get taught in gym class, everybody take a deep breath, and everybody makes this big sound, and you relearn, really, how to breathe. And that's what we think is the proper way as we grow. But it's not. So all we're doing is taking you back to basics.
Okay, and do that. And so, so if I were, and I know we're going to start lessons soon, but I would start, if I were to call you, I'm some new one, somebody that's watching the show, I mean, how does that look? You meet up for an interview, or how does that, I know you're supposed to do that, but I meant like, what would they need from them? I mean, just to talk to you and you can kind of tell?
Are we talking about hiring me and what do they need to, okay.
Yeah, if you came and said, you know what, I want to, or even seeking, your services.
Okay. So what I do is I always meet with somebody one-on-one first so that we can have a conversation, because to me the most effective way for me to teach is to know you, to understand you, and to make sure we have a good connection. And when I understand what your goals are, because everybody's goals are different. Everybody has a different reason why they want to take voice lessons. Whether they're an entrepreneur, a good example is a coach, a life coach who teaches over the phone.
Oh, okay.
For example, this one gal said, I don't want to have this little girl voice. I need to have a voice that's more authoritative.
Right.
And when do you feel most effective? It's when you hear a commercial. The one I think of the most is the Arby's commercial. That guy is hilarious to me. Yeah. And he has a great voice.
Yeah.
Now that's Ving Rhames, that's the actor, and he just has a great voice. But it's all in how he delivers that message. And it's funny.
Yeah.
But it leaves an impact on you. So that's the goal. So when I meet with you, I find out what it is you want, and then I will hire, or you will hire me based on, I normally do as far as teaching 8-week sessions, paid a month in advance per 4 lessons.
Okay.
And those folks will need to practice. You have to be willing to practice, because you won't see results just because I coached you unless you practice.
That's true.
And so I stress that because I am serious. When I take a student, I expect a student to be just as committed and serious, because amazing things can happen if you're willing to invest the time.
Wow. I can't wait to start mine. I'm excited. I'm excited because now I have the show to show. You know what I mean? I've
Yes.
got as I progress.
Yes.
How your vocal coaching has changed that, and you know me. I've been doing more presentations.
Yes.
I'm in the public a lot more, and even if I have to do a panel coming up in the end of this month, and just when will it be on this panel? And I'm thinking, and not that I'm nervous, but I want to do a good job.
Sure.
It's young professionals that are going to be there. And, it's funny that you're talking about, burnout already. Because we do have people are very busy.
Yes.
And they get kind of burned out. But, so tell us what you're up to now, though. Are you doing, you got the show and what's going on?
Okay, well, I will be doing a few events coming up. I'm November 18th, I think it is, and I'm not positive on the date on that, but we will also have a Seasons of Growth event. This is a great networking event, and I will be speaking on loving your voice at that event.
That's a good one.
It is. So I hope people will attend that, and that's at the Stonewater Country Club.
Okay, yeah.
And I am being asked also to do a presentation for Inforum, which is a women's networking group.
Yeah,
And
that's a big one.
I'm not even sure of the date on that, but that's coming up as well.
Okay.
So I have a few dates where I will be presenting, and then of course my business is that I'm ongoing teaching, and I am available to teach more students. I do have openings for a few more students at this time. And then if folks want to hire me to work with them on special presentations, then I am available for that as well. And I normally teach right over at the Radio for Divas studio in Celebration South, which is near in Kentwood on Kalamazoo and M6 area.
I know
there.
you did that when I was interviewed. You did
Yes.
you did a little coaching for me. I was okay. Let's do a little.
Right.
I
so
appreciate that.
That is where I teach, and so I am a little bit flexible as far as times, but that's why we have a consultation, so I can work with people and work with their time schedule and that type of thing.
How do people reach you that are watching, and do they go to your Facebook
Great question,
or how do
and
they
I'm
do it?
always teaching people how to do this, and I just didn't do it myself, but my Facebook page is Debra L. Anderson, Vocal Coach,
Okay.
and so you can definitely go to that. I do have a course on Udemy, udemy.com, that can be taken. It's a relatively short course, but there's like a workbook that goes with that. And I am on YouTube. There are some videos of me giving some short tips, vocal tips. So you can find me, Debra L. Anderson, on YouTube. And I think if you go to the Radio for Divas website, you will be able to click into that as well.
I believe so. I
And
think
then
I've
you
done
can
that.
call me. I don't mind. My number is 616-915-1231.
Repeat that again.
That is 616-915-1231, and I'm happy to speak with you and answer questions.
Well, is there anything else you want to share? Because I've been asking you a lot of the questions, but I want to make sure I covered everything. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Let me just say, in this social media world that we have, people are communicating more and more through social media. It's the accepted way to do things. It's the business way to do things. And yet, at the end of the day, people are still asked to go out and represent their companies or themselves. You still have to connect with people. You still have to communicate one-on-one. And that is what my services will do for you or your company. I have gone into companies and trained as well. Okay. So this is the need. Why a vocal coach? Well, that is why.
Well, thank you. We'll have you back, but
Thank
it
you.
was a pleasure having you here, and I'm sure as time goes by, we'll have some other questions for you. But right now, that's all we have for today.
Thanks for
thank you
having
so
me.
much for being with us. This is Pamela Kime for Breathing the Grand Show. You have a great day. See you next time.